What is good and what is up, y'all? It's your boy here, Jay, back and better than ever with another episode of Padres Banter. We are back from the All-Star break, and it has been rough, to say the least. Losing two straight series to the Royals and the Braves, and really not looking any different from what the first half looked like. Obviously, it's still early in the second half, but it is a race, guys, and it's a race to the finish line. And I understand that right now we're really looking at the trade deadline and what we can possibly do to build around what we got going on with this team and these contracts, but also the fact that is this a playoff team at all? And are we sellers at the deadline? So I think that all comes into play as far as the need to press the gas to try and get into the playoffs, because truthfully right now I don't believe that this is a playoff team, but we will get all right into it right here on this episode of Padres Banter. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Padres Banter. It is bleak. It's bleak. It's rough. We're going to have to really push through the second half of this season because, truthfully, as fans, I think that it really just hurts the most because of the expectations that this team has now. And also the kind of pressure situation of the win now, right? I think that that all comes into play on top of the fact that you go ahead and sell your farm year after year trying to go ahead and win now, and it hasn't happened. And I think that this is whether it goes in two directions here. You go in, obviously a rebuilding stage, or you go and try and push and be sellers to try and get what you need to be able to build around the pieces that you still have with these contracts. And I think that that's a decision that AJ Preller is going to have to make going into this deadline, understanding that yes, we did want and we do want Mason Miller to be on this team for, the foreseeable future. But if that means getting a haul back of need, then that might need to be the answer. And unfortunately, it's going to be a short stint. But I think that ultimately we are not a team that is in a win now situation. The ball that at least that we're playing and putting on the field isn't a win now situation, in the sense that this team is going to go somewhere. Because truthfully, I do want to believe that this team is going to go somewhere, and I do believe and do think that this team has the capability to go somewhere. But they're just not showing it on the field. They're not putting it on the field. They're not putting the effort forward. And I think that when you try to turn the gas on too late, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be um, a dead flame, and not really any excitement. So we have to get into it right here on this episode of Padres Banter before I get carried away. But with the All-Star break now over and done, the marathon now turns into a race as everyone is trying to race to the postseason. The Padres, out of the break, stumbled, losing the first series and first two series to the Royals and the Braves, although the manager is optimistic the panic button is starting to set in, as well as the hot seat for Stammen. Not to mention the trade deadline is looming, so tons of stuff to get into on this episode. Not to mention the fact that, yes, the All-Star break is over, but we got to get into what happened over this All-Star break and what happened in the All-Star game and Home Run Derby. Jordan Walker is your 2026 MLB Home Run Derby champion as he beat Kyle Schwarber in his home park in Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia to take the crown as a new champion has arrived in his first ever appearance in the Home Run Derby. He goes ahead and takes the crown. That is dominance, and that is I'm here to be here for a while. We know that Jordan Walker has had an up and down career so far, but we don't believe that that is going to be his career and what at the end of his stint in the MLB, that's going to be the tale of what his career entailed. I think that he's going to, and he has this season so far taken the steps forward and necessary in order to be the player that he is, but not being an all-star, but just participating in the Home Run Derby and taking it from Kyle Schwarber, who has been a Home Run Derby champion, what is it, 3 Home Run Derby champion? I mean, so it's awesome to see a new champion. It's awesome to see it happen in Citizens Bank Park, of all places. We know how Philly fans are, and Kyle Schwarber, obviously happening right in front of his face. It was an awesome scene to see, and obviously getting the boos from the crowd, his dad, his mom, his fam, all there. It was awesome to see. But also the Derby went back to old format, which I also like compared to the timer version. I didn't think that it was necessary to hit as many home runs in a minute, right? It really, that's kind of the emphasis, or was the emphasis, of the home run derby when they had the old format. It was like, how many home runs can a guy hit in a minute? And I was just like, that's not really a home run derby. And I mean, I would watch it, but it just didn't sit right with me. And I do like this older version where every ball means something. It's a home run derby, and what a show Jordan Walker put on with his family, like I said, in attendance, and to be able to come into Citizens Bank Park, his first ever home run derby. Man, put on a show, and I hope that this should, this shoots him and this propels him in the right direction with his, his career, and hoping he continues to play better each and every year and play at the capability that we all know that he's capable of playing. He's fast. He's, I mean, obviously really tall, really big, and can hit bombs, obviously. Put on a show. But the MLB All-Star Game itself was a sleeper, I would say, as the AL would win again for the 11th time in the last 13 years. All-Star Games in the last 13 All-Star Games, as they would win 4-0 with Cody Bellinger as the MVP, another stinker for the NL who has picked up the slack. But since the game has turned meaningless, it has been hard for people to be motivated. So I'm saying the NL has to pick up the slack, but that's what I meant earlier. But man, it was a stinker, guys. 11 of the last 13 have gone to the AL, and I think that you really can't really do anything more. I don't think that it should go back to the old format of being a meaningful game. I think that was not fair for any team that had a better record, or was a better team. But all in all, it was still a great break. Was still a much needed break for the league and the players included, as the Padres needed it, but didn't seem to matter. As let's get into our most recent series. And first, let's start with the Royals, as the Pods would drop their first series and avoid a sweep with a monster showing in Game 3. But question marks loom as why this team shows spurts of 17 runs, then throws up a donut the next game. In Game 1, after a fantastic Michael King start, the Pods would put up 2 runs, and their lead would quickly evaporate after taking Michael King out, then proceeding to give up the lead, but tie the game with the Ty France homer on our last out of the game. Then Miller goes ahead and loads the bases, somehow, some way. Doesn't, very unlike him, but strikes out the next 3 batters to send the game into extras, where the Pods tallied up 3 runs in the top half of the 10th, but was all for naught, as Kyle Hart would come into the game, and Stammen left him in a tad too long, if I'm being generous to say, giving up 4 runs, as the Royals would then walk off Game 1. That was unreal. And that is a very prime example of what is just happening right now. Just a whole lot of not good management, and now the players are feeling it because they're having these losses happen to them. You can be optimistic all you want, but I don't think that Stammen is on a very long leash anymore. It's a very short leash, and I think that it's about time, guys, because these types of decisions, Kyle Hart shouldn't have been left in the game for that long, and you're a pitcher yourself. I understand, and I've been on here talking about, I understand how Craig Stammen is a pitcher's pitcher. Like, he's a guy, like, he's a guy's guy. What is what I'm trying to say? Like, he's gonna leave you in the game, and he's gonna do, what he feels like he, needs to do in order for you to still like him, right? And I feel like there probably isn't a whole lot of that all the time, but I can imagine when I've mentioned before, when he was out there as a player, there's probably times where he was like, man, I wish I stayed in the game, and he didn't stay in the game, and he feels like that as a manager, where he's like, man, I know this guy wants to stay in the game and get through it. It is not the time to do that, nor the position for you to make those decisions at that mental capacity. You can't just say, okay, well, I kind of want to leave him in there because I know he can get through it. No, if he's not getting through it right now, get him out of there. Get him out of there. And I don't want to hear, this is a game in July, this is a game in this, and this is a game in that. All these games matter, like I have mentioned before. All these games matter just as much as game 162. So it's just baffling. Craig Stammen is on the hot seat, I think, because of that particular game. But game two, the Pods looked to salvage game one, but the Royals would take it to Griffin Canning, knocking him out of the game in 3 1/3 innings pitched. Lane Thomas would knock in some runs with a double, and a Caglione would also have a double with a couple bombs also included. Not Caglione, but just a couple bombs with the Royals. The Pods would go 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position and 7 left on base as the Royals would take the series and game two 6-1. And game three, Pods would look to avoid the sweep, and somehow the Royals woke up a sleeping giant on Sunday as the Pods bats were sizzling, tallying 19 runs with when winning 19-2. Pods would have 19 hits. Tatis would go 2 for 5. Merrill would go 4 for 6. Rengifo go 3 for 5 at the Pods. Had 46 at bats, winning game three in commanding fashion. And where did that come from? Where did that come from? 19 runs. All of a sudden, you want to drop 19 runs? It's just, you can say as a fan, but somebody that watches them, somebody that follows them, roots for them, is a diehard fan going to die in the grave a Padre fan. That is the most infuriating thing. Because what do you mean you put up 19 runs in game three after you just put up 1 run in game two? And then it's frustrating. It's frustrating. In 19 hits after going 1 for 9. Yeah, you probably are mad. You don't want to get swept. I get that. Backs against the wall. But game 1 and 2 is just as important. This is what I'm talking about. Now going on to the Braves, game 1, the Pods managed to get back to their ways, and they would lose game 1, 3-2. Machado stays sizzling, though, with a jack, and Ty France included, as he is really our MVP of this year, and Sears had a decent start, but Pods would lose even after out hitting the Braves 7-4, as Albies and Harris both homered to take game 1. Just unreal. 19 runs, 19 hits, then get back to what we got back to. Yeah, we had a bomb from Ty France and Manny. Manny's been sizzling all month of July. I do appreciate that, and that's great. But can I say, where has that been all season long? He has been batting, over 320 this month, and he's still batting overall barely over 200. That's how you know how bad it's been. So I don't want to hear, oh, well, he's batting this good right now. That's fine. But it's almost a little bit too little too late. I mean, in game 2, the Padres would put on a bomb show with a multi-homer game by Manny Merrill. Madness would also have a bomb, and the longest homer in all of 2026 in the MLB now belongs to Fernando Tatis Jr. with a 447-foot blast. Just unreal. Oh, that was ridiculous. Just unreal. It's great to see Toddy's swing getting back. He's obviously been hitting for average all year long, but you're starting to see the homers come off the bat. I think he's had 5 in the month of July, or 5 at least since, 3 weeks, something like that. But obviously, since his first one, he's been rattling off a lot more, which is great. Pods would go on to win 8-3 in Atlanta behind a great Walker Buehler start as well. And the Pods would rack up 13 hits. But again, after a game 1 where we only have 2 guys managing to do all the work, it's just frustrating. And then game 2, we want to all have. So we go on to game 3. The Padres would go ahead and drop game 3, 7-6. After a big 6-run 8th inning by the Braves, the Padres then answered back late in the top of the 9th with 5 runs. But wasn't enough, as the Braves pulled out a game that was 1-1 most of the game behind a great Michael King start. So then we come back. We have a 1-1 game the entirety of the game, all the way until the 8th inning, and then the Braves drop 6. Then we come back and we drop 5. It's like, so when they score, we score? Okay. All right, cool. And then the finale game for the Pods would then lose again in game 4 of the series as well to the Braves in another close one, 6-5, after the Padres would lead 3-1 the Braves answered with a 4-run inning in the fourth, added another one late as the Pods would drop two in the ninth again, but all was for naught as they would go ahead and lose 6-5. So we went ahead and dropped 3 out of 4 in this series against the Braves after dropping 2 out of 3 against the Royals. Now 2-5, 2-5 in so far, and it's not great. It's not great. But we can bounce back from it. We're still not out of it. It's just, it's just, whew, it's a lot. It's a lot, guys. So with this, you know, let's get into it. So with this mediocre ball that the Padres have been playing, it puts a spotlight on Preller to see what he can do. Unfortunately, that may mean putting Miller on the trade block, and it is meaning putting him on the trade block because of the fact that, number one, we aren't winning as much as we should. And number two, there is lots of teams willing to give up what we need, which is starting pitching and a bat or two or three because of how bad our hitting is. Then again, the plan was to keep Miller here and be a part of whatever we thought was going to happen, but it hasn't happened, and it hasn't happened the way that we liked. We can now get more for him than if we waited. Also, same with Ty France. As much as we would love to keep him and not let him leave after, especially this is his second time being with the team, being drafted with the Padres and going to San Diego State. I know personally I want him to stay, but I know he would want to stay as well. But maybe he wants to win either way with other teams. I don't know. Maybe other teams will offer something for France and Preller may have to bite. Who knows? Who knows? But these are just things that might have to happen with Millard and as well as Ty France, as well as other guys that I'm not even mentioning here. Everybody is really on the block, it seems like. But latest transactions we got going on. Ron Marinaccio, man, my pronouncing right now is not the greatest. I don't know why, like, Ron Marinaccio departs to the Pirates for signing bonus, pool considerations. So that's great to see, obviously, getting, something back for Ron. But at the end of the day, he was relatively decent, I think. He kind of made it the gap innings, if you will, made it easier for, I guess, Niebla and Stammen to make decisions, and also obviously Schilt last year being able to fill in. But, this just tells me that we're sellers. That just tells me that we're sellers because we're already going after, whatever it is that we need. If it's getting more money, there's just a lot of questions in my head right now about what is going to happen. What is going to happen? But Ron Marinaccio departs to the Pirates, so, I want to just say thanks, Ron, and I want to go ahead and wish him luck with the Buck O's. But the block will be interesting, guys. Like I said, the block will be interesting. Obviously, people are already looking at Miller. The Tigers have went ahead. No, not the Tigers. I apologize. But who was like the Brewers checked in on Tariq Skubal as well as Mason Miller. I was thinking of the Tigers because the Tariq Skubal was added in that article that I was reading. But man, there's gonna be a lot of controversy as far as fans, whether this is the right decision or not to give up Miller. I think fans want to keep Miller. I think fans, more than anything, want him to be around for the foreseeable future. But will it stir the pot? And that was a discussion on MLB Network, which was, I think, a great discussion about whether giving up Miller at this point in time will set the fans, in the wrong direction. I think a lot of us are obviously optimistic about what we could get back, but who knows? The best closer in the game is the best closer in the game. And we know what it's like to have one of those types of closers for a long time. And I think that it's always just a security blanket to have a closer like him in the back end of your bullpen. And I think that it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of teams rather, that are going to be absolutely just dumping whatever they want in Preller's face to be able to get Mason Miller because he is that good. And I think that we do realize that, but we're probably, as fans, taking it for granted a little bit because of how good he is. Um, but there's going to be teams dumping just pushing the chips to the middle of the table for Mason Miller. And Preller's going to have to somehow, some way, if he wants to keep him, turn a blind eye and not look at it in that facet. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, the trade block will be interesting. We'll keep an eye out for it. The Brewers have already called. More teams were already called. I think all 30 teams are interested in Mason Miller, 29 rather. But either way, the trade deadline is looming, and August 3rd will come in a flash, as that is the day the trade deadline is happening. Be ready, fans, as it's just going. Just be ready. Just be ready for anything. But just curious to see what Preller has in store for this go round. But don't be surprised, guys. Don't be surprised, and don't be alarmed. Um, but I'm just hoping that this Pods team can, at the time, continue to try and win ball games, and then at the end of the trade deadline, after rather, we will see where we are and what we got, and obviously what we're gonna do with the foreseeable future. If this is a win now situation, if this is even a playoff team, but right now, this team is not a playoff team, and so I hope that this team continues to just fight, scrap, play ball, because you got nothing else better to do at this moment in time. But then after the trade deadline, you have a better idea of what is going to be the idea going forward. And I know that everybody wants to win now, but sometimes you just got to make decisions for the future. And who knows what we're going to do, because right now our farm is thin. And who knows, guys? I got a lot of questions. So do you. We'll all answer them here soon. But we'll stay tuned, and we will be back for another episode of Padres Banter. We out.